Tryphosa Ramano is a qualified and registered chartered accountant. She has made and continues to make significant contributions through her various roles in diverse sectors of the South African economy. She holds various non-executive director roles, including on the South African Reserve Bank, Eskom, and the International Women's Forum of South Africa, which we call the IWFSA. Tryphosa has a BCom and a postgraduate diploma in accounting from the University of Cape Town and completed an executive leadership program at Harvard Business School. Thank you, ma'am, for making the time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Long overdue, long overdue.
Yeah.
But I space things out, you know. Everything has its time.
Yeah.
Are you living your best life?
I think I am, because I'm doing what I love most.
Yeah.
And the key for me is to see this paving it forward, developing the next generation.
You are very passionate
of
about that.
I'm very passionate about it. And also doing what I love most. I can wake up at any time, doing my own things, paying attention into the boards that I sit on. I think that's great. And having to look after my grandchildren.
Yeah.
I've got 2 beautiful grandchildren.
Yeah.
The one is in New York, the other one is here in South Africa. So I can go and visit and be that
Just
granny,
get on a plane.
Get on a plane and go and visit them.
I thought I had a good life. Now I'm just wondering. What do you do for fun? What are your hobbies?
My hobbies, I like reading books. I read lots of books, from spiritual to fiction and business. So I don't have like any particular preference. And I also love gardening. You see these hands?
Yeah, green fingers.
I've got green fingers. If you come to my house, I will tell you different types of flowers, plants, and even vegetables.
Oh my God,
I plant vegetables. Like now, we're getting into autumn, so I have to make sure that I prepare the soil for the replanting of certain vegetables. I just love my garden.
It's theory to me. I just eat them.
I love my garden. I love my garden. It's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
So that's what I do.
Yeah. That also must be good for the soul, just to be in the garden and the soil.
Yes, and I read also a lot of books around different types of plants. And it actually soothes my soul.
This is why we have these conversations, so we can get to see behind.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit about your upbringing? Do you have siblings?
I do not have siblings. My mother is 16 years older than me. And my father is 18 years older than me. So it's 2 teenagers who were experimenting, and I became the product.
A good product?
I hope so.
I think they are very happy.
I hope so. And from my mother, so I was raised by my grandmother. And we were many in the house because there were many grandchildren in the house. So we knew each other as a brother and sister. So you'll hear me referring to my brother.
Yeah.
But it's actually not.
It's a cousin.
Yeah, it's a cousin.
Yeah.
And his mother and my mother are sisters.
Okay.
And we were closer. Even when you go into school, we were one after each other. We go to the same school. So every time when you hear me, I reference to my brother.
Yeah.
That's exactly that. But from my mother, I'm the only child.
Anyway, in our African tradition, it is your brother.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Do you believe that you know what you are born to do on earth? And if you do, what is it? And how did you come to that knowledge?
You know, it's a beautiful question, because I always wondered. And sometimes when you come across challenges, you ask yourself, why me? Why me? And then you go deep and look at it spiritually. That all of us, we have a purpose in life. And there's a reason why we are here.
Yeah.
Some of us, you become a guiding light, that guardian angel of certain stuff. So, but for me, when I look at it, I feel like my purpose in life here is to show the light in terms of the future, and is to develop and help. That's the passion I have. If I don't see myself making an impact in someone's life, I feel like I have failed.
Yeah.
But it gives me so much pleasure in doing it. I will just start, here are the young people, let me share my experiences. But I started at a very young age doing that. When I started working as an article clerk, so what I did at PwC, I would challenge them to say, why am I there were only two of us, two black women, me and Albertina, it was 94. And we'll say, but why are the others? They said, no, the universities that we SAICA accredits for CAs are only these institutions. And many the traditional black institutions were not included. I said, but you can bring them in, and they do the articles more than 3 years to 5 years. And they told me to go and find them, and I brought about 5.
Wow.
And since then, I have never stopped doing that, because I feel that, I think that's my purpose in life.
That's your comfort in your
skin. It's my comfort in space.
Because you can kind of have people come in and you don't feel like it's a competition. That's good. Yes. That's nice.
And I do it very easy.
Yeah.
And sometimes people say, aren't you getting tired? I said, no.
Believe me, when I look at your LinkedIn, I'm like, how do you get to do all the things that you do?
Yes, I do it, and it soothes me.
Is it?
Yes, when I do that, it soothes me. I can do it in between the board packs, in between presenting, etc. But that particular one of making an impact in somebody, I have to do it.
And you still read
day
your board pack. That I know.
Yes, the board packs, I do read them,
It's amazing, amazing, honestly. What are the 2 key values that have shaped who you are?
The one of integrity. For me, integrity is crucial so that I can be able to sleep and snore and do all sorts of things without worrying that somebody will knock on my door. And the other one is empathy. I am very empathetic, and you have to know me deep for you to realize that I'm empathetic. But we as women, we're very good in carrying masking. So I can be this tough person, because we wear many hats. We play different roles. When I'm in a boardroom, I'm a different person. So because I know what I have to do, and I have to do it well. When I'm playing, I play hard. But also, I'm very empathetic. I feel sorry a lot for people. Even when I have to discipline somebody, I will always discipline. This is unacceptable, but do it with compassion. Because at the end of the day, you want them to live with the dignity. Yeah. Because it's very important. People, with Maya Angelou's quote that people will forget what you said, what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Yeah. So I'm very conscious about that. About being empathetic. Sometimes I do hurt people and apologize, but it's not intentionally. Yeah. But whatever I do is, please, let's do it with compassion. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, these people, they've got families, and they also need to go home with the dignity.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. I have seen your compassion in the boardroom, because you have raised the question around gender-based violence at some point where it was not even on the agenda, And from somebody who's a CA, and then suddenly you change tact. That's amazing to see. That's beautiful. Having been brought up in Mamelodi in Pretoria, has your vendor heritage influenced your character at all, and how?
It's amazing. I don't even know that vendor heritage.
Is it?
My grandmother moved from Limpopo years ago. And, in the Limpopo, the Pedi cultures, you've got the vendors, you've got the Tsongas, and you've got the Pedis, Balobedus, and whatever. And Balobedus is a mixture of Pedi and vendor.
Okay.
That is why when they speak, what Readapa.
Okay.
Retapato, instead of Reahlapa. Because vendor says differently.
Okay.
And then when they
Married.
Yes, you know.
Basically married the languages.
Yes,
Okay.
she comes from that lineage. And when she was alive, we kept on asking her, where is the Venda heritage? And until they explained that years ago, I think her great-grandfather moved from Venda into Balobedu and then settled there. And that is why the surname of Ramano is still within the Venda side.
Okay.
Because her grandfather comes from there. So that is just the heritage, but I've never been to that. Even to Balobedu, I've never been to visit her family. She was refusing for us to go and see her family because most of them, they moved this side. And you'll be amazed to say I'm talking about my grandmother. That's my mother's mother.
Yeah.
And my mother never got married.
Yeah.
And at home, we are a matriarch family. There's more women than men. And even most of them, when they don't marry, this surname keeps on carrying. You'll find there's a Ramano, and we always end up saying, but actually it's not our surname. It's our grandmother's surname. So there's not that much of an influence. I've been influenced more by the Pedi culture.
Yeah.
And that's the one of humility. You respect and you do things with compassion and empathy. That has influenced me a lot, But growing up in a township,
we all integrated.
and especially Pretoria, there's a Pretoria language, you know, there's Afrikaans there. You just mix everything.
Yeah.
And then so Pretoria has got its own language.
It's a melting pot indeed.
Yeah, they say, well, diamond.
Yeah.
You see what's diamond. You know, that's our language.
Yeah. What is the most courageous decision you've taken in your life thus far? And what drove you to that decision?
The courageous decision that I've taken, let me put it in perspective from my career. From a career point of view, when I made a decision to leave banking in asset management and go and work for the National Treasury, that was very courageous. I was young, I was probably 29 at the time. But at the time, I was so passionate about the country. I was so passionate about where the country is going. But I needed to understand how the country makes decisions in terms of allocating money to various departments. And I left a job that was paying bonuses, the job that was having a share scheme. So there were options. I literally said I'm leaving my options and I'm leaving my bonuses. Then when I joined the National Treasury, my salary was cut by 30%. And I had 3 kids, remember, at the time. I had my third child at the age of 26 because I started early as well. So that was courageous for me. But I never regretted about it because from there onwards, I had to be pivoted into other areas. I would not have been at South African Airways as a CFO if I didn't go to National Treasury. I would not even have worked at Wipol probably and be the CFO and then worked at PPC.
You know?
It was that defining moment that took me to National Treasury to learn and build relationships as well. Now when you talk about SOCs, I understand how PFMA works, I understand how government works, I understand all the layers in terms of making that decision. And then I learned a lot about governance as well. Because before I was just a numbers person, focusing on the numbers. I couldn't understand writing a memo. Now I understand how to write. But before, because they don't teach us in finance how to write, you're just focusing on reading and interpreting the annual financial statements. So it actually helped me a lot.
Wow.
And since then, we have seen a lot of young people started going to National Treasury to try and serve at the government level. But unfortunately, our government is no longer the same as it was before. And National Treasury was where you were building.
Gosh.
We were building.
You had such confidence of the cadre that was in there. Yeah.
You knew when you were coming from Treasury, you're going to lead somewhere. You lead Treasury, you're going to lead somewhere. You saw Maria Ramos going to Transnet and then ABSA. You saw Leseja going to the Reserve Bank as a governor. You saw Lungisa now at Standard Bank.
Yeah.
Pagamani at ABSA, Land Bank.
Wow.
So that was how National Treasury was built.
It was almost like a Unilever of government, isn't it? Training ground.
Exactly. The training ground. And they give you the space to make decisions. They give you the space to make mistakes. We did make mistakes, a lot of them. But there is that platform that gives you an opportunity to flourish and learn a lot. Yeah. And I never regretted that decision. Although my back pocket was affected.
Yeah.
But I never regretted what it did for me.
Some people don't actually believe that there are sometimes things that we believe in so strongly that the financial goals take a backseat. Because you did recover anyway.
And especially when we're young.
Yes,
when you are young,
you can experiment.
You have an opportunity of time to recover.
Yeah. So you fell pregnant when you were doing your matric?
Yes.
When you were 18 years. What wisdom can you share about the journey of when you look at your life in hindsight? If somebody is watching us who's going through the same experience and believes that there is no future for them?
I think the key is to believe in yourself. I mean, during that year, I felt like I have let down my parents. I have let down everyone. Because I was a very bright young girl.
Very intelligent,
very bright, intelligent, and I used to dance. I used to do ballroom and Latin. I used to win trophies, even though I learned in ballroom that when the judges are judging you, in the competition is not only about your dancing skills, it's the whole attire. And my grandmother, I think she must have taken some curtains somewhere and mix it, whatever. And then it was an attire. And I was not winning position once until I found my father to buy me a ballroom dancing dress. And he bought me such a beautiful ballroom dress. I think it was from the wedding boutique.
Yeah.
After that dress, I got position 1 at Johannesburg City Hall.
Wow.
Then I realized that, no attire. Then I said to my grandma, keep your curtains.
Oh, sure.
I now have a new dress.
Yeah.
You can imagine. So, but even though when I was dancing, my grandmother was the one who was very hurt at the time. But then I realized as a teacher who was teaching me accounting, because I was the first, mathematics, I was the first and everything. And this teacher, while I was at home, now getting ready to give birth, and after giving birth, to stay at home for a while, I missed school. He would send homework. He would send people to come and tell me, this is a homework that we did today in class. Give it to Tryphosa, let her do it. And a friend of mine will come and fetch it. And so I was always up to date.
Wow.
And this teacher kept saying, I believe in you. And I don't want you to sit here and feel sorry for yourself. You can change nature. This is what has happened. But move on, And my grandmother also said, Tryphosa, you are the one that will take us out of this poverty.
Wow.
All right? Education is a key to success, and education is an equalizer. And this is an old woman who has never gone to school, doesn't know how to read and write.
Yeah.
But in her mind, she told us that you are the only one that can take us out of poverty. Because your mothers refused to go to school. You were born. But I'm not going to be here to raise your children while you are also going through this generational curse. You are going to go to school. You are going to finish. So I was surrounded by the love, etc. And in that, even though there was no money, even that I told myself, I have to go to school. I have to pass. And that year, I became the first in my township. And in the Pretoria region, I was number 5 in terms of the matric in there. And although one struggled to go to university, but there were those little bursaries.
Yeah.
The first bursary I got was from Colgate, Palmolive.
Yeah.
It was only 5,000 rand. And then once you are at university, other things start coming in. So I see people talking about NSFAS. Before it was NSFAS, it was TEFSA. I'm a beneficiary of TEFSA. That is why I'm so passionate about NSFAS, to make sure that they do good. All this corruption must be sorted because of the young boys and girls of this country,
Yeah.
they really need that NetFast because education is an equalizer. Once you've got education, the world is an oyster. You can decide what you want to do. You don't have to depend on anything, although you need the economy to grow as well, to create more jobs. But you can also be an entrepreneur because now you have something for yourself.
And the more of us are doing that, the more we're going to contribute.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying, for any young person listening to this, the minute you are surrounded by love and people believe in you and you believe in yourself, go for it. This is just a detour.
Yes.
And if it's a detour, yes, the baby will always be there with you, but babies grow up.
Yes.
And you can't sit and feel sorry for yourself. Just look at what you can do for yourself and move on.
Very inspirational. So you're a co-founder and board member of Mahomaki Legacy. What does the company do and what makes you jump out of bed? Do you jump out of bed?
I think I jump every time out of bed because there are so many things that goes in my mind because of I do many roles. And sometimes I ask myself, why me? Why did I choose to do these roles? When I left PPC after 8.5 years, I decided to form a consultancy company that focused on financial strategy and also consultancy on strategic direction for companies. And the first client was PPC. At the time, they gave me a contract for 2 years to continue in assisting them in dealing with financial strategy around that. And then I've got some other businesses where we're building mental hospital with a group of medical practitioners, so that because we've realized that this country, the whole world is not investing in mental health. And we need to have some place where people can actually go and sort out their mental health other than the one of the government in them. So within the Mahom market, that's what we actually do in terms of consultancy, financial strategy. But because of my current role now being at the PIC and also at ESCOM, I have put certain activities on hold because one thing I avoid is conflict. I do not want conflict of interest, and I do not want to be, tomorrow you see me in the papers to say Tryphosas was involved in this transaction and this, because our economy is very slow. It is very small. So I've put certain activities on hold so that I should be focusing on my job and do what I'm really good at.
I wish more of us did that. Are we listening? You are also a gender activist. What inspires this activism in you?
My grandmother actually inspired me to be this gender activist. This is a woman who had 12 children, and the husband left her. I think the husband in those old days, they went to World War II, and they came back. They were given bicycles, and he was not okay. So he had to go to an old age home to be taken care of. So he left her with all these children. And he had those 12 children and was struggling, and eventually they found a home in Mamelodi. So we were born in Mamelodi. And I grew up, she was selling alcohol to supplement her income as a domestic worker. And her vision was always, children, go to school. Do not rely on a man to support you. And nobody must promise you as a man that I'll take care of you, you know. And she was an activist because she was selling alcohol. You know, with alcohol, there's all these sorts of behaviors that emanates when people are drunk. And when we were living, so we'll experience quite a lot of women being abused. And she was always the one who was bringing them into the house to give them comfort, etc.
Like a protector of the community.
And she would fight. We know there was no man who would touch us with my grandmother being there. So I have learned a lot from that by observation as well to say, I need to stand up for myself. I need to take care of myself. And then from there onwards, also because of the country where we come from, we saw the women that came before us, they took a keen interest in us as well, in terms of supporting us, providing platform, giving us opportunities. And I've also learned through observation, through that, to say, oh, we should take on and carry on with that baton. But also when you look at the hierarchy of status, I mean, black women are at the bottom, all right? And being at the bottom, you need to say to the child, to say, you are good enough, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So I feel it is our job to actually make sure that we continually go and motivate these children. And then now for me, although I focus a lot on young women, but also the men as well, the young boys. Yeah. Because we can't leave our boys behind. And that is why this gender-based violence keep on escalating and escalating. Because we have these educated women who are doing very well, gets to marry this man says, oh my goodness.
Feels inadequate.
I feel inadequate, I feel that I'm not good enough, and then it's behavior. It starts happening. So I also focus on the young men as well. That is why in the month of June, I'm going to hold the first youth summit, whereby I bring all the young brains together to talk about opportunities that are available, digitization, AI, decarbonization, just energy, all these opportunities to bring them together so that they can be able to say the future. Yes. That is the future, because we're sitting with 60% unemployed youth is very high in this country.
It's too high.
Yeah, but I'm very passionate even on the issues of equality in general. And that is why I serve also on the Gender-Based Violence Response Fund, and I was also on the Solidarity Fund as well, because anything that's got to do with equality, justice, I'm there.
And you are. What is the one unwritten rule you wish you knew about being a board member that you would have found beneficial when you sat on your first board?
If somebody has told me that stakeholder management is very important, that will help. Would have helped me, because in a board you've got diverse thinking, diversity of thought, race, gender, age, experience, etc. And it's not all about your skill. It's got to do with also how you interact with each other. This issue of emotional intelligence. I didn't know about it. Nobody taught me about it. Sometimes you just say what you want to say without considering how the other person receive it, you know. So I have learned through my experience that stakeholder management is very important. I didn't know that it's important in the boardroom.
This is amazing. I've just been running a leadership development program for the CEOs of Uganda. So I was doing a leadership quotient. So obviously EQ has to be there, SQ, because again, I was telling them the stakeholder and the strategic, as a strategic driver, the stakeholder management. So they were like, okay. So it's amazing. It's becoming something that's critical, because most of the time we look at the technical expertise and you don't think of that.
And the PQ, political quotient.
This time, because I was saying to them, I can cover all the Qs. So I just did IQ, EQ, SQ, PQ. DQ, and I did XQ, because I couldn't do all of them. But it's the fun part. What has been the most awkward moment you have experienced as a board member, and how did you lead yourself through it?
The awkward one, when I saw that question, I kept on asking myself, what would be that? It was at the time when I was at the PPC. I was the FD. I got a call from the chair. We're having a board meeting. I said, what board meeting? He said, the CEO has called, we are having a board meeting. I said, all right. As I prepare myself, he said, no, the subject matter is you. I said, oh, really? He said, you are the subject matter. But I'm telling you, you are going to be excused for that. I said, no, send me the invite for the board, and then I will attend, and then you'll excuse me.
Yeah,
when the time is, but me not showing up is not gonna work. So it was very awkward for me, and a similar one also happened when I was still at SAA. We were dealing with the previous CEO at the time, and the board was having a meeting to discuss what we need to do, and it was requesting him to excuse himself. And he says, oh no, you can't only excuse me, you must also excuse Tryphosa because she's also an executive director. And but I was not conflicted.
Yes.
And at the time, the board says, okay, Tryphosa, excuse us. But that's when I learned about in committees.
Yes.
And full board, etc.
Those minutes that nobody else should be seeing.
Yeah.
In committee meetings. Wow, that's amazing. Do you have mentors? And who was your first mentor? And what is the most unforgettable wisdom that you still carry with you today?
You know, I have multiple mentors.
Yeah.
And I've never been in a formal mentorship program.
Yeah.
I just developed mentors over time, and also to have the group of people that you'll always go to when you have a challenge. So the first mentor, I can't remember who can say is the first mentor per se, because I engaged quite a lot with a number of people. But I remember when I was in Abasa, when I started working, I forgot her name. She's the one who really was working at Abasa, and she took us along into many meetings. And in that many meeting, she took us to a show at the civic center.
Yeah.
I've never been on a show before except in church.
Yeah.
Then the Standard Bank at the time was sponsoring the show. Then that's when I met Gloria Serobe. At the time, she was working for Standard Bank. And I took a liking to say, this woman is so confident. She understands herself. She is so keen in the development of women. And also in terms of she knows her space.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to be like her one day. And when I tell her now, she said, you think I'm joking? I said, really? I said, I want to be like you.
You inspired me.
You inspired me. And when they started with Bold as well,
yeah,
I was following them. I bought those shares and I was with them. They wanted me to work for them, but I was still young. I still wanted to gain experience first in the corporate world. So I have multiple mentors at the Treasury, Bo Maria Ramos, Pakamani Wilseja. Those have been my mentors to go to when I needed counsel in there. And Gloria Serobe, Louisa Mojela. So those also I go to. No Munhla when I was at SAA, she sent me a note to say, welcome to the aviation industry and some flowers. If you need a sister to talk to, give me a call. Irene Shanley. They will give me a call. Congratulations. When you need a sister to talk to, give us a call. If you're experiencing challenges, give us a call, and we are there. So I had access to multiple people around that I could go to if I'm experiencing a particular challenge.
So you're not on your own.
So that I'm not on my own. And as you've seen in my career, I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot, and I've been fighting a lot because what I was fighting for, principles and integrity. I can't allow myself to work in an environment I see somebody stealing, I turn my head and not say anything. So I have to actually raise it because I'm accountable. But those are the people that I will go to. And I remember at some stage at SAA, we had a board meeting because I was so young. I was 32 years old. And this meeting is heavy. And the day before, I think I got a call from risk department saying they're investigating me. I said, what did I do? The guy of risk said, I'm not comfortable, but the CEO asked me to do 1, 2, 3. But can you give me the information? I said, no problem. I'll give you the information. The following day, we were in a board meeting. There is that CEO is laughing. I was very angry. You know, when you're young, children don't pretend, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was so young. And we were talking in the meeting, so this thing is consuming me. I burst out crying in the board meeting.
Yes.
The board meeting was stopped.
They were like, what's going on?
What's going on? Is there anything? He comes, hey, what's... I said, I don't even want to talk to you. You are the culprits.
Yes.
And then they stopped the meeting. But it's the women in the boardroom that took me by the side and gave me comfort and say, wipe those tears.
Yes.
No, wipe those tears, drink some water, here's some Coke, we'll deal with this thing.
Yeah.
In a board meeting. There's no time now for crying babies. And I cried. I was like, I can't help this, you know. So it's one of those.
I did that once, but not in a board meeting. I was still very young because I sat on such a board at 28, I think. I don't know. It was before I got to the board. The fact that they appointed me to the board is something else. But it was before, they were attacking me because of my interpretation of employment equity. So I was telling them they don't understand affirmative action. And I had hired a white male, a gay white Afrikaans male, to be a receptionist.
Yeah.
And I was like, I will get them to make tea. I will get them to sweep floors. Yeah. Those are the careers they didn't have access to. Now they do.
You're giving them,
If you are attacking me for professional positions, now I'll understand. But you can... And I think I just lost it, and they all like sat there like, I think they realized they were being unreasonable, but the fact that I cried, I never cried again, ever.
But I said there's not moment of crying, because sometimes you bottle, some people just fall on the floor and collapse because they're
holding
all this anger and whatever. I just cried, man, and it's like, this is not for babies. I think it must have been a joke for my entire career that time at SAA, but I literally cry. And people say, Tryphosa, do you really cry? You? I said, yes, I'm a human being.
Yeah, like any human being. What are the biggest challenges you think the CA profession faces today?
That's very big. Our profession is experiencing difficulty in terms of integrity. And the reason I'm saying integrity is with this Steinhoffs and the VBS Bank, all these entities that have had corporate scandal. And our profession was also there. And also some of our professionals who are implicated in these cases to say they participated in those has actually rendered the profession to be a little bit weaker. So we are a little bit weaker. We are trying to come back, and that is why there's policies about ethics. You have to read that ethics code of SAICA, and EBA is reviewing the files of auditors. If you are doing a risk audit, it's not only that firm that is doing the audit and sign. EBA picks that file, and another person independently is going to review the file to say, did you document this? And they have findings against firms, and firms have to correct those findings. So it is a real challenge in terms of the ethical conduct that the profession is actually faced with. And especially when you look, it's especially amongst the big guys. They are the ones who really, their system of risk management really was weakened because it's based on human beings in there. So other than the transformation, it's just that ethical conduct of the profession. And then another dilemma we are facing now, when you look at the results of SAICA, black people are failing.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
The pass rate is very low.
Mm.
They're failing. And the SAICA has done a study now. They say it's got to do, they don't have enough support system around them. The universities are just pushing the numbers. Quality of accounting department at certain universities is not great. So it's something that we are busy now. We are going to have a lekgotla around it, whereby we are going to debate, because we are now regressing.
Yeah,
Yes.
I thought the numbers were...
And the firms are complaining that people suffer from mental health, etc. So it's a whole lot of things. Those that pass, they are dropping out of the system.
Oh my gosh.
Because we are living in a different generation now. And probably we need to change the way we train our young people, because probably it's cut across in terms of this generation.
Yeah.
They don't have the resilience anymore.
Yeah.
Unlike us.
It's a new skill now that you have to do. I know you have to rush because you have another engagement. We have so many questions, but we will have to do part 2.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Yeah.
So we can talk about AI, impact of technology, and all things like that. Yeah.
I love AI.
Yeah, you do? Are you not feeling threatened as a chartered accountant in that space?
The profession, it is.
Yeah.
But the profession is moving.
Yeah.
In terms of that AI, for example, in internal audit. When you do internal audit, there are those routine tasks that you do. If I'm going to check the internal control of banking, these are the things that I will normally go to.
Yeah.
So what you do, then you automate those processes. And sometimes it's the robots that actually can do that. So once you automate it, you just take you get into the system and you just code it, and it goes and look into those things. And then from there, it comes with a report of what the weaknesses are.
Yeah.
So basically, our training now has to incorporate that, and has to incorporate data integrity. Even now, one of the challenges the rest of the profession is facing, we've got electronic signatures.
Yes.
So if somebody has got electronic signatures, you find the auditors will phone you to say, did you sign this document?
Yeah.
Can you confirm it is you? What date and whatever.
I've just experienced that.
Yes, it's because of the technology, because anybody can get. Remember, people sign annual report, and annual reports of publicly listed companies, they become public, and there's a signature of somebody.
Yeah.
So it's easier to scan it, and so they need to make sure that those things are done. But what I learned now is I'm learning about AI. And certain things that you use in AI, the voice recognition. When you try to do a video and you say, I need the voice over, it's limited. They will give you some American man, American lady, British and whatever. When you say African, they give you something else.
It's not.
No.
Yeah.
So when they're talking about misrepresentation in the AI, and also less women represented, I could see it. The other day I just went and said, give me the Soweto, a picture of Soweto, and it's shiny, whatever, in an image. It shows me squatter camps.
Oh, no.
But that's what it's in the in the AI, the coding.
Yes.
Probably when you want Soweto, you must see the squatter camps.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that as we develop in this, we can actually improve.
But it's also our knowledge. We have to input so that it can draw, which is why I also wanted to do Wisdom Personified, so that we can curate African wisdom.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
we have a lot of wisdom to share. In wrapping up, what wisdom would you like to leave us with?
Be kind.
Yes.
And have empathy, while at the same time you are courageous. I always say courage builds character, and character builds confidence. So we must all be courageous, but at the same time, we become kind.
Yes.
And help each other. The war zone is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger against women. So we just need to make sure that we are kind to ourselves and kind to each other. Yes. Because if we don't do that, imagine the society where people are not kind to each other. What will happen?
It's a painful society to be in. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
When you meet Try and see the things she's involved in, you get the sense that is aptly conveyed by George Bernard Shaw when he said, "I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. For the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It is sort of a splendid torch, which I have a hold of for the moment. And I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it over to future generations." I hope you have gained wisdom for this fleeting conversations with Tryphosa. Until the next conversation, Wisdom Personified Conversations with Dudu Msomi. Subscribe, like, and share. Let's get more people to be part of this wisdom journey. Thank you for making time for this episode of Wisdom Personified Conversations with Dudu Msomi. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Click on the bell notification to be informed when our next episode is available. Wisdom Personified Conversations with Dudu Msomi is also now available on Facebook Watch, Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. Enjoy the wisdom journey.